Good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Today we have with us Cassandra. Cassandra, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cassandra. I first want to say thanks to Jay for hosting us, for being here. I work with Money Matters University, a financial literacy program for every age and stage of life.
Nice. And I still said it wrong. Cassandra. It was okay. Cassandra. Oh my gosh. Like, look, I had a whole look. We talked about it right before I started. Still couldn't get it. Okay, yes. Yes, love. And your introduction goes further than that because you don't just work for a University of Math. What else? Tell us.
So I've worked in publishing for about 15 years. I love helping people be able to launch their message, which is why it's been so fun to partner with Richard, the founder at Money Matters University. But I also can live to tell the tale. I made it K through 12 as a homeschooler myself.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. That's what I wanted you to know. Yes. So, of course, I'm sure the journey to Money Matters University was one, but can we definitely dive into your homeschool experience?
Sure.
Why did your parents say, you know what?
I'm not 100% sure why. Okay. I think in the end, it ended up benefiting kind of our lifestyle because I moved a lot as a kid. I had 21 different addresses before I could get my driver's license. What? So flexibility within the home was good, but we also were travelers. We did a lot of in-between travel. I didn't drive. My parents drove cross country. When I was probably about 11, you stop off to see the Grand Canyon and, the Biosphere and the Alamo and all these different things. So there's, a lot of benefit to it. But why we started, in the late 80s when it wasn't super popular yet, not really sure. But I was fortunate to be able to graduate at 15 and start college the same year. Started, that kind of jumpstart my careers really because finish school early, you get done early, you jump into new things early, you have other life experiences. I did gap year programs. Like I had a very full, late teens and through my 20s because I was able to just kind of accelerate that time.
That is so dope. So 21, were your parents nomadic? Like, were they?
Yeah. So my dad, he was a computer science programmer for different companies. And so, you follow those trends through the 90s and early 2000s. There's just a lot of change happening in those environments in those years. And so I think we kind of followed those trends and ended up seeing what was possible.
Nice. Okay. So he was just exploring like, hey, let me take this here. I heard about this here. Let's go see what they have here. Okay. Was it just you? You have siblings?
I have a younger brother. We're 4 years apart. We were both homeschooled. I graduated college at 20 and then I went to Texas to go start doing some gap year programs and he was kind of left behind with himself for a bit. But no, we were, the proud homeschool graduating class of one and then of one, just get it done.
And that's dope. You did it at 15. Like you finished at 15. How was
summers. That? Yeah. I mean, I think there's two different ways of looking at it is there's like your education side and your career and how you're set up. But then there's also social emotional learning and learning context cues. And I was, heavily a part of my church, my youth groups. Like I still had we did some micro schools when we were in, California for a time, but
Homeschool families. Homeschool Yo Kids Expo and Homeschool Beats Academy are teaming up to bring you a day of real support and real inspiration. Come explore curriculum and enrichment, meet trusted vendors, and connect with the homeschool community. And at our featured Expo stop, meet Homeschool Beats Academy and see how students ages 7 to 18 can create original music through beat making and production with parent-friendly guidance. Get dates and details at homeschoolyokidsexpo.com.
Would I recommend starting on a college campus at 15? Maybe not. Did I do it? Yes. I didn't live in a dorm at 15 years old and I wasn't, had a full caseload or credit load at 15 years old. There were incremental ways in. But, I don't know what public school was like. So I can't really say like, oh, this was better and that was better. But I had the opportunity to learn at my own pace, which was usually pretty fast, and learn how to take responsibility for myself and my education and my learning very quickly. I think, jumping forward, that helped me to be able to be an entrepreneur, to be able to understand how to take ownership and, self-pace myself and really make my life my own, because that's what I was doing at, 12, 13, 14, 15, and just forging that path.
Did you like it? Did you like homeschooling that time? Did you ever want to go to public school?
I don't remember feeling that draw. No. I don't remember knowing. I had friends, through youth group and stuff. They talk about school and it intrigued me, but it wasn't like, oh, I have to go do that now. And this is, let's skip everything. I never can recall a time that I approached my parents like, oh, we should, I just want to go be over there. We had some very brief discussions when I had formally graduated about, well, now that I've graduated high school, would there be any benefit of going to 12th grade public school and then kind of trying it again and rounding it out? And I knew like at that time, like, no, why wouldn't I just go on to the next thing?
Right, exactly.
So that's really the only time I think we ever considered a blended option.
Okay. And how did you all do it? Like, was it formal? Like, did you have curriculum that y'all followed?
Yeah, I remember going through a popular curriculum that's still used today. I won't give credit to one person or another, but like, I remember we just kind of worked through all their stuff. And at the time that I was in my high school grade 8 levels, we were in the state of Pennsylvania. And through there, you had to do, your licensed teacher by the state had to come and check all your work and look at your portfolios and look at your weekly planners and get everything evaluated. So like, I remember that part. But other than that, we were very much so self-paced. Like we knew what kind of work needed to be accomplished in a year, what work needed to be accomplished in a week. It just, I don't know, it all kind of made sense to my brain very early in life of how to move through material. There's a couple different times we did homeschool co-ops where I could like, dissect a pig, much to my chagrin. I hated that, but whatever. Or, different experts would come in and teach us one thing or another. And I remember those fondly.
Homeschool families, are you ready to refresh your plans for the year? Join us at the Homeschool Yo Kids Expo. Meet curriculum and enrichment vendors, discover new programs, and connect with a community that gets it, all in one place. Come with questions, leave with real options. Get event details and register now at homeschoolyokidexpo.com. That's homeschoolyokidexpo.com.
Except for the pig, didn't love that. But yeah, just you kind of make your education your own when you homeschool or are homeschooled. So I think that's nice.
Okay, so y'all did have co-ops, so you were
at different times, different spaces. Yeah.
I would say, because y'all moved a lot. So I know you didn't, stay too long with whoever you did visit with, but you were able to find community most times.
Yeah. A lot of times it was through churches. And a lot of times those two worlds kind of run in sync. So it just made it easier.
Nice. Okay. And so, graduating at 15 and entering college, that's the big deal of like, how was that transition, especially coming from homeschool to a whole college campus? Like you said, you bypassed everything and just like,
I laugh at myself now and I have no problem sharing some of these stories, but like, I was very sheltered. I didn't understand certain things. Like I remember making like my first friend and she kept telling me like, yeah, we're gonna have this party. It's gonna be awesome. And I was like, oh, cool. And she was like, yeah. And I got a full cake and it's so cool because I got a full cake and we're gonna be doing all this, that, and the other. And this cake. And I'm like, what's the deal with this cake? And it was no joke, like 2 or 3 years later before I realized that girl had been talking about a keg.
I was like, because I'm like, what? It's the cake.
But in my sweet little innocent brain, I was like,
okay, you heard cake.
You went to the bakery and you got a cake. Like, what's the deal? But I just remember and I laugh at that kind of stuff now because I go, there were certain things I didn't understand. And I think that's tough for a lot of homeschooling families and parents and co-ops and directors is where do you expose your kids to things that are happening in the world? Where do you shelter them? I think that's an ongoing conversation and that tension is there. there's parts when I look back on my life and I'm like, I kind of wish I had understood just the groundwork of the world a little bit better, not because I needed to go partake.
Your kid has music in them. They just need the right tools to let it out. Homeschool Beats Academy teaches kids ages 7 to 18 how to make real beats at home on their schedule, in their own style. No experience needed. Grab the complete First Beat Kit free at homebeatsacademy.com. That's homeschoolbeatsacademy.com.
And all of it. But so I could navigate it. I didn't ever get sucked into anything crazy. I never did drugs. I never, spent the night in a dorm after a wild night. Like nothing like that ever happened. I commuted to college. So like it wasn't that big of a deal. But I do think that there's a bit of a social gap and understanding how to handle yourself in certain situations when you just haven't had a lot of peer pressure in in an environment where there's people around you. Now, I didn't live in the world of social media.
Indeed. Yeah, you are definitely talking about a different time period.
It's completely different. So I think today's homeschoolers, regardless of whether or not they're on a college campus, on a public school campus, private school campus, or homeschooled or a co-op, it's so different because the landscape is all digital. So it's really hard for me to say, like, what would I do now? How have things changed? I just know for me, it was a bit of a steep learning curve to understand the real way that the world works. And I don't want to use the word temptation. Like, that's not really what I'm talking about, but just navigating.
But it's like street knowledge.
Right. Street cred.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't learn all of that, but I also had a desire to learn appropriately. So understanding about mental health, which wasn't a word we used a lot back then, but understanding how, we would say your ACE score now, or, these adverse events that happen and how they can affect you. I was always incredibly drawn to learning about that, even from a young age, because I did want to understand street cred, street knowledge, right? Like how things work. And so I do think those are important things. I think sometimes we can get so wrapped up in curriculum that we don't always remember the just kind of everyday life skills that go along with just coming of age.
Indeed. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad, like, this is the first time having this type of like directed conversation as far as homeschool goes. Because a lot of times you do see people out like, I'm not trying to shelter my kid from the world. I'm just trying to make sure that they, learn the things that they need to learn versus the things that are just fluff or distraction or whatever it may be. Exactly. That's why I look at mine, because they definitely know things that oh my gosh, I'm like, why do you know this? But I'm okay with them knowing it. It's like, I just want to talk about it then. Like, I want to talk about it, expand on it more, and then, make sure that you understand it, because there's a lot of it. So we've talked about drugs. We've talked about sex, of course. That's, oh my gosh. We just talked about a lot of things that, one, I didn't think I would be having this early on. Yeah. But two, I don't remember having with my own mom though. Right. And I went to public school where, this is a wealth of foolishness to learn there.
Right. Right. But now, again, our entire world is accessible this way. And that's scary. That's terrifying, because there are things that 7-year-olds shouldn't see. And right now, the average age of exposure for pornography is like 7. Like that's mind blowing. And so how do you have the conversations the right way? Because no parent wants to shatter their kid's innocence. Right. You know what I mean? But how do we appropriately safeguard and for all these different topics? And that really is tough. People be like, oh, were you super sheltered? I was like, I was. But I can tell you, I still knew all the songs to Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Like, I couldn't own those CDs because that wasn't allowed, but I still knew all the words. How? Yes. They go to public school. You know what I mean? Like, it's still there. And so, and that's just something so innocent as 90s boy bands. But like, I could find out stuff if I wanted to, not because I was looking for trouble, because we're all social creatures and we do learn from one another. So, I do host parent meetings sometimes when I teach mental health.
Nice.
I'm like, look, I don't shatter their innocence. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to process life with them at an age appropriate pace, because someone else will do it for you.
I say it all the time. Maybe you gonna talk to them or somebody else will, especially in these classrooms. Because like you said, there are 7-year-olds walking around with those devices, and not all of their parents have activated those safety modes, those parental controls. Not all of them have done that, love. And I always talk about the fact that, hey, they're going to be in those classrooms with 20, 21 others, 22, 28, depends on where they're at. But either way, they're in the classroom full of other kids who have found something really cool that they want to show your baby. Okay. So either you make it a safe space for them to come to you and talk to you about it, or you just gonna be guessing what your child know. You ain't gonna know until like, oh, Dad, you know that? It's like, yeah, Mom. I'm like, I've known that for the last 4 years. Wait a minute. Like, why?
Right.
Because the things that the girls have picked up at the playground alone has been like, what? Like, oh my gosh.
Right. I think kids, they're young, they're innocent, but also their sense of like self-esteem and their sense of shame is right there too. And we never want shame to be a barrier between us and our kids. And so just having that open dialogue, sometimes, I used to work with students a lot, high school age. And I had to like mentally tell myself, like, girl, fix your face, because they'd be telling me things. And I'm like, just like praying that my face isn't like, what are you telling me right now? Like, no, keep it calm, because I didn't want to betray their confidence with a sense of shock. Right. Or for them to feel a sense of shame. I want them to feel safe with me. Even when sometimes I'm like, that's a thing. Like, okay.
Right. No, girl.
Navigate all that.
And I think maybe my students kind of prepared me for my kids. Like, because like I'm able to keep that straight face until I get on the phone with my sister later and be like, yo. Guess what she said?
They told me words that I'm afraid to Google. Like, I don't want that in my algo. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, how did the children know all these things? I don't know, man.
Like you said, the internet now is so real. Like it's so much exposure to the point of desensitizing. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but they're desensitive. I'm still not saying it right. Desensitized. Oh my gosh. What was that? But yes, they're so desensitized. I was trying to make everything out that word. But they were so desensitized to everything. Like everything is just like, oh, that happened? Oh, okay. It's like, yo, 3 people died. Oh, okay. Like, it's just there's no shock with them. There's no like, oh my goodness. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know how healthy that is.
But probably not.
Right?
What I find is you start losing human-to-human connection. Like, if we look at situations in the news, things are happening in our community, just life happening around us, and we think, oh, those are just, NPC characters in a game. I don't care because I'm over here. Like, that's fine. Like, that's just a number. Like, it doesn't affect me, so I'm good. Like, I don't think any person actually truly processes life and thinks that, but because we're processing so much data all the time, that it's just like, I'm getting to the next thing. I'm getting to the next thing. And we lose track of the humans that are right here. Like, they're right. That is a human being in front of you. That's not just something that's supposed to make you happy right now, like an object.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's why I appreciate our lifestyle. As far as the traveling goes, I do. And I do feel you when you was like, oh, like, I made that friend. And it's like, because you travel so much, I know those long lasting friendships may not have always been there.
No.
Yeah. And that's what, like, my girls have friends literally everywhere, like all over the country.
Yeah.
They've had some really good friends, that are not in Phoenix though, like not in Arizona. It's not that I feel like we be there enough for them to develop those connections, but ultimately they connect more with people that are on the road.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I lived on the road myself a couple years in my 20s, and I've got friends all over the country, which is great. There's a part of that that's fantastic, because when I go to Nashville, you know, I call this one, and when I go to New York, I call this one, and that's good. And I do think it's grounding in the sense of the world seems a little bit smaller instead of just like, I'm going to all these new places and it's all strangers there. No, I've got memories and connections all over. I think that's good. But building that home base is also important. Having those places to come back home, or like that community where you feel just that sense of connection is important. Indeed. I had that in some seasons of my life. I didn't in others. And so, you know, but at the same time, knowing how to navigate transitions is a great life skill. Mm-hmm. I've had multiple jobs. I've had, you know, now I work with 8 to 12 entrepreneurs a year, and they're short-term gigs, right? But like, you build a deep relationship, then you move on to the next deep relation, move on to the next. And being able to close loops with connections is a skill, and being able to transition into new places is a skill. So living on the road isn't bad. It's just a different way to go when you learn certain skills. It's just, you know, balancing it out.
Indeed. Thank you for that. So when you enrolled in college, what was your major?
Psychology.
Psychology. I knew it wasn't going to be anything math related, because we always start one way over here and then all the way up over here. So psychology, because you said you are well versed in mental health.
Yeah. But you know what is, I've actually found that to be something that's worked very well for me. For a time, I thought maybe I would end up being a clinician inside of, you know, social work or psychological services. And I've looked at it and I've toyed with it really my entire life. If I could go back, and I could. But what I've enjoyed is working alongside thought leaders who are trying to make a change in the world. How do you do that? A lot of times it comes with a technical skill and knowing how to marry that to social skills and emotional intelligence. Yeah, I'd look at the fact that I've worked with Richard, you know, from Money Matters University for the past 7 years. I do a lot of work with him that is not math related in any way. But when we look at creating a curriculum for kids as young as 6 on money, are we really teaching them algorithms and, you know, algebra? Are we teaching them how to have healthy mindset about choice? And how do we see value? And how do we use our money to build the kind of life that we want? That's more psychological than it is math or budgeting. And so I see the two things kind of running in parallel and being a really good fit. So even though I took a lot of classes that now I'm like, I don't know if I use that every day, I kind of think I still use it every day.
Of course. Take us through the journey from psychology major to Money Matters University. So
we're going to take some really sharp left and right turns for just a second, but come with me on this journey. Buckle your seatbelt, get your little snacks and your Coca-Cola. So I got my degree. My parents very much so thought I was a flight risk. And they're like, you got to get the whole way through college, then you can do whatever you want. Like, that's fine. Just get a degree. And immediately after, I went to Texas, did a gap year program, all very youth focused, and, you know, traveled the country for a couple of years, really just working in nonprofits for free, very hard, very long hours, but very fulfilling. In that journey, I found out that I really wanted to communicate to students their worth, that they had value. I started to really want to have a message of hope for youth, because I had needed that when I was a little bit younger. And in that process, I decided I wanted to write a book. So I pursued that, went back to School of Writing, figured out how to publish, got an agent that told me I had to literally be famous before they had actually signed me, but that's okay, because she taught me for 2 years how to write formally and the business side of writing. Then I opened up my own publishing company. Then I started working with small business owners. And then I ended up working alongside Richard, and we've built this curriculum. So it kind of has wound back and forth, where I started in psychology, took a pit stop in youth leadership, then a pit stop in writing, then built my own company, and then have ended up here.
That is so dope. What books have you wrote?
Lots.
Really?
There's a couple hundred at this point, and just different individuals. I do a lot of ghostwriting, so I don't talk about all the titles, because that's private, but a ton of leadership books, a ton of HR books. I've written a whole suite of mental health tools, and then financial literacy tools has been one of my more recent focuses, but really
so mostly nonfiction, like you're in the nonfiction realm.
I've helped a couple people on the fiction side. It's a bit of a different animal. And the editing style is a little bit different, but I have partners that I work with when I find a client who really wants to go that route, and I kind of help get them where they need to go.
I really like you. Yeah. You just like, you're just like, oh, boom. And I've done this. Like,
homeschooled.
Right. I know. Like, this is why this is so intriguing. Okay. So with the Money Matters University, you focus on curriculum. You are building and constructing curriculum.
Yeah. We finished our building phase about a year ago, and now we're just really focusing on our partnership and collaborations phase. So Richard's goal from the beginning is he's like, listen, I've worked with Fortune 500 CEOs for 40 years. Like, I understand the business world, but we got to bring this the whole way back and start the education process way over here. Because by the time you're 40, 50, 60 and you're launching a business, you're just worried about doing the thing. You just want to create the thing. You just want to do the thing. And some of the operations parts of, HR or finance, it's harder. It seems like it's the clutter that's in the way. But Richard was kind of like, what if we start way back in the beginning and build a foundation of financial literacy for kids as young as 6, kindergarten, first grade, all the way up to 12th grade, so that they feel grounded and what we call is forging financially confident kids. Like how to build that confidence in our youngest population in our country to help them understand money is a great tool. I wouldn't worship it, but here's what you can do to make more of it. Here's what you can do to invest wisely. Here's how to take risk. Here's kind of the system of banking and investment and loans. And here's how it all works. Now go make great choices. Go, like, live your dream. And for him, he just really wanted to make sure that he could pass on as a legacy project everything he learned and break it down into just 2 or 3 minute videos that could take someone on about a year-long journey on how to gain that skill so that skill can work for them the rest of their life.
That's awesome. Y'all helping breaking cycles, because, financial literacy, that's like a buzz topic right now. Like, that's what everyone's like, when they talk about what they didn't learn in school, they're always financial literacy. Like, that's right. A thing right now.
Well, we know how to spend the money, but how do we make it, right? Like, and that's the thing, is we've kind of dissociated from money in some ways, because it's just, I tap to pay and I just swipe and go and I just DoorDash and it's here. It's like, well, but where'd that come from? And what is that taking away from? Or what is that advancing in your life? And it's so hard to think about it that way when we've got our money in like 7 different platforms. Like, how do you keep it all together? I have a hard time with that. And I can imagine that being 17 and trying to figure it out and looking at the economy and looking at, how would I even get my first house right now? One of the biggest mental health stressors on young and even mid, like we're talking like 20s and 30s adults, is that there's this common belief right now of, I don't even know if I can afford my first home. That's a stress. That's a strain. And what is it like to live your life feeling like you don't have ownership of where you live? That creates stress and strain. So it's just, how can we eliminate some of that burden? Not that we can give away free money. That's not the point. But how can we plant those foundations so that people feel like, yeah, it's going to take time. There can be sacrifices, but I can really build the life that I want because I understand the steps to get there, instead of, well, I hope it happens one day. No, let's build it together.
Yes. And I feel like this generation that's coming up, they, because of social media, a lot of them are in a rush to like have their own and have like be out here and like, I don't know, just doing the most. Whereas I used to always tell my students, especially my seniors, stay home as long as you can.
Yeah.
Like, do not be in a rush to go get a bunch of bills, okay?
Yeah.
Stay home. And like you said, then you can, and I was just talking to my friend about this downstairs too, like the fact that a lot of our kids now, because there are a lot of people trying to break these cycles and, you know, trying to make sure that their young people are set up better in their future than we were. Yeah. But encouraging them to stay at home and build and understand, okay, you can save. And when you go out, you can go and buy something as opposed to going and renting something. Right. And it's a big difference in understanding that ownership. So I love that that's a focus.
Yeah. I was just at a homeschool convention this past weekend, and I had two young men, probably about 17, 18 years old, total bros, you know, and they come up to the table and they're like, okay, so like you've got this thing where you talk about like financial literacy. I'm like, yeah. They go, okay, so if I want to be making 6 figures within 5 years, how do I do it? Like, all right, well, there's a lot that goes into that, but okay. They were driven. They also, I found, they had their own business online because, some of these kids have this ability to build income and build wealth. Well, that's awesome. How do we use it? What do you want to do?
I was saying, then do what you're going to do with it, though.
And that's the thing. Like Richard has to remind me all the time, because I kind of came from this mindset, this background of I'm supposed to do this one thing with my life. And I just supposed to figure out what the one thing is and then go do it, right? Because that's like what we're supposed to do, right? No. Richard reminds me all the time. Listen. Life is about needs versus wants. And it's okay once your needs are covered to figure out what you want. And as long as you can build whatever life you want, all we're trying to do with our tools, with our programming, with our workshops is, can we help you define what those are? And then can we give you enough tools so that you can sustain your needs and your wants? Just build the system around you. Build whatever it is that you need so that both sides can be covered. But it's not wrong to go after your wants. Just define it and then make sure it's sustainable.
Like that. I like that. So what all do you cover? Because you say your program is or curriculum is for as young as 6 years old. So what are some topics that you all cover?
Sure. So what we wanted to do is make sure that it could be a multi-generation approach. And so no matter which age or stage of life that we're targeting, and we target multiple groups. So we've got curriculum for K through 4th. We've got curriculum through 9th through 12th. We have curriculum for foster care students because we want to make sure that they feel like they have someone on their side speaking directly to them who maybe didn't have a certain chance to learn certain things within the home. We also have a business leaders edition because we want to help small business owners. And we have a second chance edition for individuals who maybe are coming out of incarceration or out of a difficult circumstance. That's hard. How do you set yourself up financially with something like that in your background? This is not about shame. This is about making sure that you've got the right tools to move forward. But no matter which age category or life stage we're looking at, we go through the same 24 lessons. We believe everyone should learn together and be able to have conversations as families and as community members. And so those topics begin with things that are very simple, such as why money, job search, needs versus wants, budgets, cash flow, navigating mistakes. We move into things that are a little bit heavier, such as self-discipline and contentment, social responsibility, financial habits, debit and credit cards. Like, what are they? Debt and credit score. Get a little bit deeper with assets and liabilities, loans, taxes, the IRS, investment in the stock market, and retirement. And then some of these last ones being risk management, which I didn't even know what that word meant like 2 years ago. Risk management, identity theft, scams, entrepreneurship, a business plan, and then ultimately financial success. And so going from very simple, like what is money and how do I navigate a job that's going to meet my needs and wants, and going through all those things all the way up into some of the nitty gritty topics that some of us love and some of us are like, I don't know how to use those words, which was more me, all the way up into you want to build a business. Here's the documentation that's going to help get you there. You want to build your life plan, your savings plan. Here's how you get there. Is really the whole thing. Now you might be saying like, what does a 6-year-old need to know about retirement? or risk management, right? But we believe if we can start using these words appropriately, don't change the words for the younger generation, like let them understand. Look, all risk management is, hey, when we get in the car, we put on our seatbelt. That's risk management. Hey, when we go out the door and it looks like the clouds are maybe a little bit, we're not sure what's going to happen, we take an umbrella. Risk management. Like, kids are smart. They can put this together. They don't need to get risk management insurance brokers on the phone or anything, right? But if we teach them about wearing their seatbelts and taking an umbrella when they're 6, 7, 8, I bet it won't sound so scary when they're 16, 17, 18. Yes. And they'll start thinking about their car insurance premiums. And then it's easier to think about your home insurance and what kind of life insurance you need for your family when you're 30. Like, we just want to build that foundation early.
That is beautiful, because that's encouraging the conversations that we want to have and we need to have, actually. Right. And you're planting the seeds. Like, that's what I thought when you were saying, okay, they may not need to know full-on retirement plan, but just introducing that word to them is enough to plant a seed, whereas they will grow and develop on it. I love this. Okay, so the curriculum is self-paced, self-guided, or do y'all have classes, or?
We basically packaged up all this genius in self-paced, video-led. And so whether or not someone has Step Up scholarship funds in the state of Florida or some of these other ESAs around the country, we're based out of Florida, they can partner with us and then access our material digitally through some of these scholarship programs, or through our website. You can actually get print books. Now, I'll tell you this, with 24 lessons, they have about 10 to 12 micro lessons inside of them. And each micro lesson has about a 3-minute video. If I were to print out the workbook for the whole thing, it would be about this thick. That's scary. Nobody wants a workbook this thick. So we have 4 that are smaller. And so we have the first 6 lessons, the next 6, the next 6, and then the final 6. So it's accessible and you can follow through. What we wanted is to put an expert on camera to be able to break it down. We have the actual workbook, and then we want every learner to build their own financial language. So at the end of every 3 or 4 minute video, there's processing questions. So how do you define value? How do you define your needs? How do you define your wants? All we're trying to do is put some definition to that so that it informs your decision-making as you go forward. So it's meant to be very interactive. Even though we're not hosting live classes, we want to remove the burden for parents who feel like, I don't know if I really want to teach on loans or 401ks. That's cool. We've got an expert for that. You in the home can help guide some of those processing questions and guide those conversations where you want your family to go.
Indeed. And also learn alongside.
Yes. A lot of parents pick up our youngest book and they go, and the K through 4th book is teeny tiny because we're not going to make them learn all the older ones. But even the parents pick up the K through 4th book and they're like, I wish I had this as a kid. Yeah, me too.
Right?
I get it.
Right. Exactly. Think about all the money that's passed through your hands and it's just like, out here living.
Right.
Okay. So how long does it take to get through these lessons? How long, is this a school year?
For our older material, 9th through 12th, or advanced middle schoolers, because again, homeschoolers, we're all, special and advanced. Let's just be real. For that age category, we do recommend taking a full year with those 24 lessons. You're moving through 2 to 3 a month. For the older category, you're looking at about a half hour to 45 minutes of video-led content per topic. There's 24 of those. So you could do that in 1 week. That's not difficult. But if you really want to slow down and do the processing questions and do the take action challenges where we ask you to build your first budget or to fill out loan paperwork or to really move through this material yourself, we just recommend maybe doing 1 lesson every other week so that you can actually pace it slowly and absorb it. So it's going to be about a year-long process. But again, that's the beauty of homeschooling. You can go slower. You want it to be 2 years? That's fine. You want it to be 1 summer? Hope you brought, you're thinking kind of that's fine too. For the younger age groups, it's only a 4-page model. So all we really have is 1 3-minute video. And then we're talking less than 300 words of like workbook material to look at. And then a question. We put all of our questions in a little piggy bank form, and we want to spur on conversation. So it's like, ask an adult, when did they save money? Ask an adult what their first loan was. And so we want to foster that communication within the home for that. We think that's where the best learning happens, especially those early ages. And then there's usually like a coloring page or a word puzzle or some sort of activity page. So those lessons could be 20, 30 minutes for young ages whose attention span is smaller, and that's okay.
Yeah.
On to the next one. So really it's for every individual educator and parent to figure out, how do you want to work with your group, your co-op, or with your individual child?
Nice. And you have them, because I know you said like the K through 4th. How is it broken down? The
segment
curriculum for the ages. Yeah.
K through 4th, there are going to be some 5th and 6th graders who will still want to use that book. It does look a little bit on the younger side, but again, some kids love that. The other's coloring pages. We're not sure exactly where. We labeled it K through 4th just because we actually did make sure we ran it through national standards for personal economics through the K through 4th. It hit all the markers. So we know that hits all of the standards that could be important in certain school districts. So that's why we say K through 4th, but it really can be K through 6, depending again on your learner. And then we have the advanced middle schoolers, or the 9th through 12th. It passed all of the Florida state regulations and national regulations. Again, for those schools, co-ops, or individuals who feel like they have to follow certain requirements, we will make sure that it checked all the boxes. So to make sure that we can with integrity say exactly where it lands for those learners who that's important, K through 4th, 9th through 12th. But it really is up for parents. I think grade levels can be a little bit ambiguous in the homeschooling world. So we leave it upon the parent.
I know the girls got hit with what grade you are. What grade are you in yesterday? And both of them paused like they had to think about it. Yeah, they had to think about it. But it's cool. I love this. I love that you make it digestible and make it for that appropriate age group. And the video lessons, I'm sure, help a bunch. Where else do y'all see you going with this? Like as far as the financial literacy?
We've got dreams, right?
Right.
It's really a passion of ours to partner with individuals who have this gap and they're looking to bring programming in. And so whether or not that's bringing us in to do live workshops, whether or not that is us coming into school systems or co-ops and just bringing the material, I could build keynotes all day and I could build workshops all day. So I know that education is really Richard and I, that we love to speak. And so I would love to start moving into those directions. As far as new topics, we've locked them at those 24. But every once in a while, someone's like, well, do you guys teach on like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? We're like, we do not. But, if that is what people are curious about, maybe we'll do a one-off eventually on, just a side little book for that, or on, a deeper dive on investing, or like buying your first car, or, there's so many different ways to explore finance and personal finance. For now, we're sticking with the foundation, making sure people feel equipped, but the sky's the limit as far as, where we could go, what else we could build next.
Nice. Of course. Sky's always the limit. So with all that you do and with all that you have poured into Money Matters University, because it sounds like you are very, very passionate about it, and I love that. How do you self-care? How do you make sure that you are good to continue this journey and expansion of all things money?
Well, I live in Florida, right? And I'm about a half hour away from Disney World. And you can call me a Disney adult and you can laugh all you want. I love, like, if I get a good afternoon off or, a day off, I love to go take a walk around the world with my Starbucks and just walk. And I don't feel the pressure of like having to be in ride queues or attractions, but I love to just take a long walk, be out in the sunshine, watch the fireworks and go home. Or if I can go to the beach for the day and just hang out, that is the best. But sometimes you can find me in some random coffee shop, drinking a chai, just hanging out and reading a book that I did not publish. And that's good too.
I know, that's dope. That girl, you are well-rounded. You are a well-rounded individual. Look, you started out green, and look, you started out green.
I did. We all do, though, right? Like,
know, right?
It's life experience, and it's taking advantage. You know, I heard someone say once, "Exhaust your singleness," and I didn't quite know what that meant at the time. But yeah, like, go live life, go do lots of things. And I think it doesn't have to be about a marital status. It's exhaust your youth, exhaust your opportunities. Go try things because you gain so much experience and relatability, and that only makes us better connectors.
Indeed. And that's why I love that you said, like, I've worked many jobs. Like, I love to hear that because I too have worked many jobs, and it's just about exploring. I tell people I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. I'm not there yet. So, you know, we keep exploring, but our youth need to know that you don't have to hone in on one thing and take it. Yeah. Because a lot of people are stuck in loops where they're very unhappy with what they've chosen. But it's like, oh, well, I'm here. I've been here 15 years. So let me just keep being here. It's like, no, go find your happy. You deserve that. Go find something you're passionate about, something that moves you, something that wakes you up in the morning without an alarm clock. Like, oh, boom, I'm ready to go attack this. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And one more question before I let you go. If our listeners didn't hear anything else during this whole beautiful conversation, what's 3 things you want them to take away?
Number 1, take a deep breath. Like, life is just so fast. We are absorbing content every minute of the day. It's okay to take a breath and just give yourself what you need. I think I would say that to anybody. Number 2, is after that is, I hope that you make great decisions that you're proud of. Whatever decision that is, just having that healthy mindset that you can point your life in the direction that you want it to go. Whether that's financially, whether that's mental health, whether that's life skills, whether that's college, whether it's just finishing your high school career, that's okay. But point your life in the direction that you want it to go, not just where life is sucking you down the road. And then number 3 would be, along that process, mistakes are going to happen. That's okay. Give yourself grace. You can blow $1,000 and make a terrible financial decision. It can be recoverable. What did you learn from it? You know, we can get invested in relationships that maybe we shouldn't have, but what did you learn from it? So take a deep breath, point your life in the direction you want it to go. And when mistakes happen, give yourself self-grace and keep going towards that thing that you want.
I love that. I feel like you were talking to me. Yes. But yes, I was just asked yesterday if I regretted any, like, as far as leaving the classroom and everything. Because I'm back in my hometown. And so, you know, I'm seeing old friends and everything, and we're showing them the RV and everything. And it's like, do you have any regrets? Do you miss it? Or anything? I'm like, actually, I don't. Like, I feel I miss my students. Yes, I miss, you know, new students. I miss that energy because kids are dope. Like, but I have my 2, and they keep me busy. They keep me very busy, definitely on my toes at all times. But I feel good. I feel good about this process. I feel good about the contribution I feel that this is making to the shift that we need in society. So, yeah, no, thank you for that. This has been beautiful. I appreciate your time. Families, I understand that you don't have to know it all. The resources are there for you to break those cycles, to do something different, to learn something different. Like I said, this is something you can learn alongside your kids. This isn't something that they just have to, you know, tackle on their own. We know, look, I'm an 80s baby. Look, you were homeschooled, so you probably got a lot bit more, but, we did not learn financial literacy in school. We learned how to sign checks. I remember that class. You know, things of that nature, how to write things out and all that good stuff. But these conversations were not deep dived into at all. I was definitely well into my 20s, I think, when I first learned about stocks. I was probably in my late 20s, like when I really learned about investing in that manner. Teach our babies now, like they're ready. My 9-year-old has her investment. And it was all on her, but she invested in Walmart, girl. And every time we go in there, she's like, "Are they making me money right now?" I'm like, "Girl, you own a piece of a share." I doubt that. I doubt your bank is rolling right now, but I just love that that's an interest of hers, and she is out here to definitely get what's hers. Let me say that she's a little hustler. You met her, like she's a little hustler, and she definitely knows how to talk to people, and I love that for her. But get your babies the resources, and don't wait until later. Like she said, this program is for as young as 6 years old. And these kids start asking for money early. Okay, so let's teach them how to use it wisely and profitably, like to move them forward in a good direction. So yes, check out the resources. All the links will be available in the description for Money Matters University. And you know what I say, homeschool your kids.